Hello and welcome to the week ahead. It's January, end of January, and so we have some monthly closes to look at on these charts. So ES set a little bit of a higher high with no follow through. If you look at it on the weekly time frame, you see that it did a pull-in, push-up, and then was not able to hold above at all. Daily time frame, we had here was the peak, and then we had a really harsh drop day all the way back down to the weekly EMA 12, and then a bounce all the way back up here. You'd think maybe that would be a bullish reaction to that, but no, we just printed another inside bar the next day, which basically put it smack dab in the middle of the prior candle's range, and it closed right in the middle of that range. So indecision, just complete indecision. This market's going nowhere right now, and so that's making trading really tough. And the same thing is true for NQ. Look at this on the monthly. We have this top that we were unable to get through. We have not been able to set a higher high. We did break the inside bar of the prior month bullishly, but we did not continue to push up from there. And so on the weekly time frame, same thing. We're sort of breaking down and then pushed all the way back up and then rejected it. Daily time frame, unable to get above that, and still just, again, inside bar, but closer to the downside. And why are we doing that? Well, the Mag 7 don't actually look that hot right now. Let's take a quick look at them. So here's NQ. We just looked at that. Amazon, I'd say tightening up, potential for continuation. Apple touched the monthly EMA 12 for a potential monthly high or low. Google, strong. Meta has been basically in the dumps going sideways for months and is trying to rally out of that now. NVIDIA, again, has been, I actually feel really bullish. I feel like it's just waiting for the monthly EMA 12 to catch up, and it's chopping sideways here. And so I'm starting to think that if we get a flush down in NVIDIA, especially if it touches monthly EMA 12 or gets below it, I really am considering finding a way to get in there. Tesla rejecting 500 again, and then coming back in. You can't see it on this chart, but it's looking for a weekly high or low right now. But it's tough trading in there. They're super choppy, and it has been for months. Look, these are monthly candles. So look on all of these names, it's just been sort of sideways choppy, sideways choppy, sideways choppy. That's why you're having a hard time to get the QQQs going. And over here, we got Microsoft off the highs, dumping. I mean, it's looking for a monthly high or low, but based on that retracement, we're already down at the 618 from the top. And so the likelihood of this rallying from here is lower. More likely it'll either keep coming down lower and then set a lower high and go down, or balance and then decide which way it's going to go. So that's why, in my mind, the NQ is doing what it's doing. It's just, it doesn't have the underlying power that it needs to break out of this thing, and it also doesn't have the underlying weakness it needs to fall down. And so it's sort of that mixed bag of the Mag 7 that's causing this thing to stay stuck here. Okay, silver and gold. Silver and gold. So we have this, look at this top. From the top here, we had silver go down 35% from there to there. Ooh, wrong indicator. Minus 35%. That's in 2 trading days. That's Thursday and Friday of this last week. We dropped 35% on silver. That's bonkers. Okay, but how much trouble are we in? Is it bad? On the weekly time frame, we just came down to the weekly EMA 12. Yes, we broke the weekly stair step here on silver, but check this out on gold. We did not break the weekly stair step. We're holding it still. So even with that huge pullback in gold, we're still above the weekly stair step. So we could actually just keep tightening up here. We'll find out, when the futures market opens on Sunday, we're going to find out what's going on with gold. Is the bottom set and we're going to go up from there? And we're just going to keep weekly stair stepping here, or is it going to come in deeper, maybe test that weekly EMA 12 and like silver has, and then figure out what's going to happen from there. But either way, based on the size of this retracement and this erasing all of this price action from here, obviously the most likely scenario from here is a tightening range, both on silver and gold. And so we'll find out how big the bounces are, and then after that tightening range completes, then we find out which way are we going to go, up or down. Same for silver. We're going to get some sort of tightening range and then figure out what goes from there. So, again, back to the theme that I keep talking about. We have things that have been going really strong, showing topping signs or completely rolling over in capitulation events like these. And now we got to now it's no longer the just buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Now we're in a different mode where we've got to watch this consolidation and see what's going to happen. So a lot more of the waiting game for these. And the big question is, what is going to be the next big hot sector to keep to go? And so I come into the market this week, wondering that, and I have a watch list that I've shared on here before called my themes watch list, and I look through all the different themes in the market and try to figure out what's going to happen with them. I have here it is, my groups or stock groups or themes page, and in here I've gone through and I've listed out each of the themes that I track, and I'm adding to this all the time. I give a sampling of some of the names that are represented within that group. This isn't exhaustive. Again, I have a watch list that is exhaustive, but I just went through and reviewed every single chart, these ones and others, and tried to sort of group them into what's going on. And you can stop this and look at these and see if you agree. I don't have time to go over every single one, but I just wanted to point out a couple things. So first of all, things that were previously crazy hot and are now in straight up downtrends. We got quantum, rare earth metals, crypto, AI, all those names that were running like mad. They're all, what's the word? Passé? I don't know. They're not in favor anymore. So what has been running? We've had space and defense running. Financials were really strong, but they've started to come over a bit. We're still in an uptrend technically on the weekly time frame on financials, but it's precarious, and so we'll have to see what's going to happen there. Uranium has been really strong, CCJ being the leader of uranium. However, CCJ, I'm going to talk about a trade I did there in a minute. It's been the strongest, and others in that group are not as strong at all. We have healthcare, which I think is in a late stage of the rally, and I think we're about to start monthly consolidation. If you look at the chart there after the monthly close today. Semis, SMH is actually super strong, but I don't know how it's doing it, because all the semis are just sort of going, all the big semi names like NVIDIA, AVGO, TSM, AMD, they're all going sideways. Yes, like AMD has big moves up and down, but it's not big moves up and up and up. It's big moves up and down. So they're all going in these sideways ranges. And I think it's some of these other smaller semi company names that are keeping it holding up. Like within the semi group, there's rotation happening, and that's what helps SMH to keep moving up and up and up. But I think it's getting late in the rally there too. Memory stocks, so SNDK, MU, STX, these have been absolutely on fire, and so they're also showing signs of being toppy. And by that I mean, if you just look at the RSI on the monthly and the weekly, it's super extended, getting to historical levels. SNDK had a really positive earnings gap up that was massive, and it completely pulled all the way back and filled the gap on that first day. But did hold it dipped to the prior day range dipped into the range of prior day and then bounced from there. So I don't think the trend is necessarily over, but there's signs of potential topping showing in memory names, even though I know there's a whole memory shortage story that's going on. So I don't think it's necessarily over, but it's definitely showing signs of having these, crazy extensions to the upside and then deep pull-ins because of that. And so the main takeaway here is, one of the things that I do is I'm able to put them into the groups where I say, like, these are the uptrending ones, these are the consolidation ones, these are the downtrending ones. I also, within those, like, if you're in an uptrending, are you in the early stages of that uptrend? Are you in the middle of it, or are you late? And you'll notice that there's none on here that are early. And that's where I'm really struggling, is I'm able to find things that are working, but there's nothing right now that I can see that's in the early stages of an uptrend for me to get excited about. And so that's where I'm kind of struggling to find. If I want to get into a swing, where can I do it where the chance of it following through is good? And right now I'm not seeing that. And so I'll go show you some examples of what I'm talking about. So Netflix isn't the best example. Netflix is coming in here for a monthly higher low. And at this point I'm thinking it's probably going to get to the 2021 top. We did have earnings back here on the 21st of January, and it was a gap down on earnings. We rallied out of that, and then I thought there could be a chance here for a daily higher low, which I attempted here on last Tuesday. Did get a rally out of that, but it stopped me out 2 days later, and so we're heading to lower lows. I think it's still, we haven't yet set the lower low, but daily EMA 12 has been resistance, and so I think most likely that's what's going to happen. I think the earnings bounce was probably its best bet to get out of these doldrums here. The best bet the bulls have now is a double bottom from here, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, we do have this support level from way over here that, again, another reason why I thought we might get a daily higher low. But again, my daily higher low didn't work. Again, that doesn't mean it can't work. I'm not saying it's going to go down, but at this point, I think from a technical point of view, you look back here and you're like, oh, what a beauty it would be, and what an obvious spot that everybody and their mother could see from space, that if it comes down here, this is a great spot to buy because it tests this prior high. And so I'm actually kind of hoping it does. I'm kind of hoping it does drop all the way here from whatever it is at, 83.50 right now, all the way down to 70, and then get a triumphant return from there. That would be pretty cool. But so this one isn't a great example of things topping and then rolling over, but it is a sign that when given a really good opportunity to try to bounce, unable to do so. Iran, this was actually a really good trade that I got into, but I got into it on January 2nd, the first trading day of the year, and I got a nice move from this daily higher low all the way up to this high here, and then I got out of it. It now has, did some nice consolidation, tried to move higher, and then rejected completely and had its first close below the daily EMA 12 since way back here when I bought it. So showing topping signs, and I actually think that makes sense because on the monthly time frame, a lower high I always said was the most likely scenario, and January closing the way it did, almost retracing half of the move from that high, tells me, yeah, that is the monthly lower high. Doesn't mean we're going for a lower low. We could consolidate here for a while, and this could get pretty choppy from this point. So again, not anything trending that I can get into. KTOS, this is a defense stock. I was looking for a daily higher low. Let's go down to the weekly. So we had this high. I was looking for a higher low on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, it was the same thing. We had a high. I was looking for a daily higher low. We got below the daily EMA 12, and that's when I noticed that on the hourly time frame that there was this falling wedge pattern here like this. I'll draw it rough so we can keep things moving. And I got long on this day here. I thought this trade was going to work. I thought for sure it was going to get rally back to highs, but from my entry here with my stop down there, I was expecting it to go up here, but it didn't. I got risk-free on the very first day, so I sold enough of my shares to cover my risk if I did stop out, and then I was just holding on, and I was barely even looking at the chart thinking this is going to go back to highs, and it didn't. It rejected and came all the way back down and stopped me out and went lower. Doesn't mean it can't get a weekly higher low. It still could. It would need to come in here and maybe test the weekly EMA 12, but just not the strength I was looking for. CCJ has been strong like mad. And go to the monthly time frame, this thing is really moving up high. Monthly time frame RSI is 77, weekly is 77, so extended on the upside, but doesn't mean it can't be over. So I noticed on the weekly time frame it's stair stepping up. On the daily time frame, it was extended above the daily EMA 12 here, and my trading partner pointed out that it is riding the 12-hour EMA 12. So on this day here, when we had this nice flush in, we both bought it there and had a wonderful bounce. And then this was the bounce we caught, gapping up in after hours, and then wake up the next morning to a gap down. So again, strength showing weakness. So where is the strength? Like I said, it's in memory stocks, SNDK. Let's look at the monthly. It's out of control. Weekly, stair step, daily. Here's that earnings reaction that I talked about. So rally or gap up overnight on earnings, continued up, and then came all the way back into the prior day range, but then bounced. And so as of right now, still a 12-hour EMA 12 rider, holding up well despite that crazy move. MU, 12-hour EMA 12 rider as well, but in this broadening formation now, right? And so I'm watching this broadening formation thinking that if it can, I'm actually thinking about taking this thing long on Monday against this low. So that's one that is on my radar just to see, can the trend continue? But I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't work, because that's what I've been seeing is these strong names are starting to roll over, and there's no early stage trends that I can get excited about. So I did say XLE, or energy names are a little extended. So let's take a look at this. This has been a wonderful consolidation pattern that this thing has been in since way back over here. And now it's finally breaking out of that. So that feels like it's early, right? It feels like it's an early stage of this trend. But look at the weekly. We're already overbought on the weekly. Monthly, let's just put the monthly overbought level on here. Where would that draw itself? I mean, I guess we could keep going from here. You can see it would be up here around 56 and we're currently at 51. That's where we get overbought. So take a look at the weekly stair step, daily rider, probably a 12-hour rider. Yeah, 12-hour rider and continuing up. So maybe, I guess late is not the right word for this, but I will say that on other names like XOM, I think it was looking a little more extended. Daily 81, weekly 77, monthly 71, also a 12-hour rider. Also had this nice big consolidation range that is breaking out of. Long consolidation. I guess when I look at that, I do get a little excited because a long consolidation like that and then a breakout above, that can really get some legs on it. And so I would be even more excited if it did come back in and test a weekly EMA 12 and then continue on. But I think energy is probably the best bet. There are a lot of names that don't look so hot though in energy. Like just for an example, let's take a look at Oxy. You know, it's starting to get this. It has a potential monthly high or low. If it does, I mean, it did confirm that as a low pivot, but it needs to get above this monthly lower high here, around $49 for this thing to really get going. So anyway, there's a lot of chop in oil names, and I have a really hard time trading them. But XOM super strong, XLE looking great. This is the other thing in the earnings season. It's really difficult to try to find long trades. You kind of got to wait for some of the earnings to be done, so then you can figure out what you want to get into. So I think that's a good place to wrap this up. Going into the coming week, what do we expect? Well, obviously, energy names are looking really good. They're the strongest ones that I can find. Are they early, middle, or late stage? Hard to say. But I think the thing I got to do is go find the names that look really strong and find out when their earnings are going to happen so that I can see if I have enough time to get a trade off the ground. Because the other ones that I've been doing are looking toppy and they're rolling over. And so I'm just having a hard time finding the stocks I want to trade. And when the market is being choppy and it's getting harder and harder to find the things you want to trade and you're having to look in places you never normally look, that's the market telling you stuff. And so I think for me personally, be more patient, take fewer trades, only take the ones that look A plus. And when you're in a trade and you're starting to see profit, like I was on KTOS, you know, you get a gap up on a name like this, on this gap up here, in this market, I should have taken some profit. You know, gap ups are for selling. Everybody, it might not be true, but it's a thing people say, it's a thing people think. And clearly it was true on this stock here. So I was up huge and I lost it all. So in this market where things are not really trending in a lot of places, take your money when you can. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you guys have a wonderful week trading. Good luck out there. Hey, if you like my indicators on TradingView and you like the content I'm producing here on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe.